Welcome to BizTV's Beyond the Brand. I'm Kelly Phillips. Today I'm joined by Tim Parmeter, co-host of the Franchising 360 show, seen right here on BizTV. Tim is also the founder of FranCoach and specializes in helping entrepreneurs find their perfect fit in the world of franchising. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more of BizTV's Beyond the Brand. Our next guest is the founder and CEO of FranCoach and the host of the Franchising 360 show, where he serves as a premier guide for aspiring entrepreneurs navigating the franchise world. With a focus on education and strategic matchmaking, he helps individuals transition from the corporate grind to successful business ownership. Please welcome Tim Parmeter, and good to see you again, Tim.
Hey, Kelly. Thanks for having me on again. Nice to be back.
Well, good. Just kind of refresh everybody at home who may not know who you are and your background. Just a brief update, if you would.
Yeah, well, I guess first, shame on them for missing an episode of Beyond the Brand.
Right.
So again, FranCoach, we are really here to help people find the best franchise owned. Really, before that, even just get properly educated on franchise ownership, what it's all about. Is it for them? I've been doing this for about 12 years now, and it's been super fun. I get to work with smart, successful people and help them typically learn something new and hopefully find a possible new path for their life where they've got a lot more control working for themselves versus for somebody else.
And a lot of times, we'll talk about this again, a lot of times people think franchise, okay, that means food, but there are lots of different franchises out there that could possibly fit them.
Yeah, only 4,000 or so, right? So, but you're right. Almost everybody's first thought goes to food, and if you survey 10 people, name a franchise, I don't know, maybe 8 out of the 10 are going to bust out, the golden arches right off the bat or something food related. And yes, those things are food or are franchises, and they are the typical, oh my gosh, $1 million plus investments. But that is a small fraction of what is out there. There's literally 100 plus different industries and niches and financial ranges, everything across. So everything you can imagine is a franchise. And then a whole bunch of things you can't imagine are also brands as well.
Now, we've got to talk a little bit about why failures happen in franchises. I know you can go there and tell us that there are a couple of big ones, but break it down even more if you would.
To start with, just understand the statistics of it is, after 5 years, roughly 90% of franchises are still open and operating, right? That's an incredibly high percentage. It's roughly the same percentage of marriages that are still intact after 5 years. So the true, quote, failure is pretty low, right? Then it's kind of understanding why that would happen. And across all, I don't care what franchise it is, the two biggest mistakes people make are so ridiculously simple. They don't follow a proven plan that the franchise gives them, or they're not actually putting forth the required effort. So basically, either you have to be not smart enough to follow a proven plan and lazy across the board. Those two are the biggest things that really cause maybe not necessarily failure, but initial struggles where people kind of get behind right off the bat.
Do those failures happen before that 5 years is up?
Typically, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen before then. And I think the other piece to think about that statistic is, in 5 years, there's 10 or so percentage of the franchises are no longer open. That doesn't necessarily mean failure, right? So, in fact, Danielle and I have owned 2 different franchises. Neither have we owned for the full 5 years. We were able to own them and then sell them. So it wasn't like it was this, oh my gosh, this massive disaster. We were just able to sell them. So that sometimes that closed or like not still open doesn't necessarily mean fail. It just means it transferred or changed hands.
How important is it? I mean, you talk about following someone who has come before you and they've basically laid out your path. Why would you want to change something that's proven Why do people not understand that, Tim?
If you could figure that out for me, I would be really happy. So it's all right.
I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer, right?
It is. And I will tell you, we'll get to two more things that sometimes people cause people to struggle or ultimately fail. But that following that plan is when we have our clients and we take them through the process, they find that franchise down, they've signed the franchise agreement, they're super excited. One of the pieces of advice I give them is I need you to be dumb. And you could just kind of hear them on the phone. What do you mean be dumb? I'm smart and all of these things. If you think you're smarter than the franchise with this proven plan that you've just invested your money in and your trust in them, and you're going to try to no, McDonald's, I don't want golden arches. I want a block letter M, right? Just stop yourself, trust that process, figure everything out until you could always make your personal touches on it down the road. But honestly, Kelly, I'm with you. I don't know why somebody would just completely ignore a system that they have spent their own money to invest in to run, but it does happen. And it's just crazy.
It seems to happen time and time again. And when somebody new comes in and buys a brand, you're going, oh, it's just going to continue until they start meddling in it. Another thing is you've got some franchise owners that they want to own, but they kind of want to be hands off. What type of signal are you sending to that franchise when you're a hands-off type owner?
Yeah, and some franchisors will not allow that, right? And so that's first and foremost. And to me, it's the trickiest piece is you can think, oh, I want to keep my job, and you'll hear in the industry semi-absentee owner, which basically means your role as an owner is part-time. You're hiring a manager and they're running the business full-time. And maybe you're required to spend 15 hours a week overseeing your business in addition to whatever else you have going on. It's harder to make the commitment to that 15 hours than it is if you were full-time and you're like, this is how I'm eating. And so people kind of just get lazy. And again, it's if you're not following the plan and you're not putting forth the required effort, even if it's only 10 or 15 hours a week, you're going to really struggle with the business, and you kind of have nobody else to blame than yourself in those situations.
One statistic that I read is the number one reason that people want to own a franchise is because they want control. But if they're hands off, aren't they not in control?
There is certainly in less control and putting a good deal of trust on whoever they're going to hire to be that kind of point person for the business, right? Why people do that is a lot of times it's usually because they're keeping their job a little bit and just like the security of that paycheck a bit. Or you'll get a lot of times seasoned entrepreneurs will have multiple businesses. That's a little different because they've already proven it. It is honestly, I think, harder to be a semi-absentee owner for your first business than it is to just be full-time, because it's easy to get distracted and put the business on the back burner, which that really should still be your focus. But you're like, I got my job or whatever, and that's what's paying me. So you have to be incredibly disciplined to do it that way.
Talk about royalties and franchises and how those work, because I know that's a different setup than just some of your other standard franchises that folks can own.
Yeah. So anything from a royalty standpoint, every franchise are going to have royalties that they are charging. There's the initial franchise fee, which is just the rights to the business and training and onboarding. So people sometimes freak out. Why am I giving that franchise, 6-8% every month of what I'm doing? Well, royalties are two things. One, the franchisor created this business, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, perfecting this system that you're now a part of. They deserve to make money on that. So the royalties are how they make money, but it's also going back into all of the people that are there to support you, your franchise business coaches, your technology people, all of the systems that you are using as an owner to run your business more efficiently. So it is going back to the business in a sense to help you grow yours. But there is a little bit of that, frankly, the franchisor's business owner too. They deserve to make money, and that is definitely part of it.
Tim, we need to take a quick break, but I want to come back and talk more about franchising in just a minute. Be sure to scan the QR code on your screen to sign up for BizTV's monthly newsletter, The Biz Beat, where you'll get articles, business news, and columns by BizTV's personalities, all sent directly to your inbox. And we're back with Tim Parmeter, founder of FranCoach and co-host of the Franchising 360 show. And Tim, we were talking about why franchise failure happens and some of the biggest mistakes that you see. Are there some other tips that you can share with us?
Well, I think there's a couple things. Is one, follow the plan and put forth the effort. Pretty basic, simple things. Then the trick is really, then it comes down to what's the right match for you. There are over 4,000 franchises out there. And no matter what kind of like hype or stuff you see online, there's no such thing as a best or a top franchise. It's an incredibly individualized and personalized process. So you have to find what is your best match. Fortunately, there are people like us at FranCoach that can kind of help you do that, right? And so the two other things I always like to share, and they're almost as equally as silly as not following the plan and not putting forth the effort. But people get started and they start to get cheap. They kind of get the alligator arms and they can't get their hands in the pocket for the money, and they get cheap on marketing or they get cheap on labor. And the amount of times people utter the phrase, I'll spend more money on marketing once I get some customers. And you're like, I don't think that's how it works. Or I know I'm supposed to hire somebody else over here, but I'll just do it. And then now as an owner, you're like, you don't wear a red cape with the letter S. Now you're doing too many things and you're not doing your main job as an owner because you're filling in for somebody that you didn't hire. So again, really kind of goes back to following the plan. But if you're supposed to spend $5,000 a month on marketing, don't spend a penny less. If you're supposed to hire 2 people right off the bat, hire those 2 people right off the bat. And again, you should be projected your kind of financial model for that anyway. But getting cheap on those 2 things gets people so far behind the 8 ball right off the bat.
Okay, I know to you and me, it's backwards to not spend money on marketing right up front, especially if you know that. But explain in layman's terms to other people why marketing is so very important to the success of your business.
Marketing equals customers. Customers equal money. So it's really those things. If you are not if you're not spending it, and again, this throws people off a little bit, spending it even before you're open. And again, overspending sometimes because no business ever says, oh my gosh, we have too many customers. Like, please go away. Please stop calling me. We'll figure that out. The problem is not having them or not having enough. Right. And so it's and every time we say it to our clients in the process of like, that's something people will make the mistake of, and everybody can hear it and laugh and think that's funny or crazy. How could that happen? Until all of a sudden, it's your money and your arms just get shorter and shorter and they can't quite make it into your pocket. If you do that, if you're cheap on those 2 things and you start to struggle, it's like, don't point your finger at the franchise or anybody else other than your short arms and not being able to kind of shell out the money.
Yeah, point those fingers back at yourself. What about communication, especially communication with the original franchise? How important is that?
It's imperative. And obviously think about it at the beginning, of course, but you would always want, and again, you're paying, if you think about it, you're paying for their support and ongoing like training, anything that they have. The other piece of the kind of community puzzle is other owners in that system. As great as the franchise may be as far as training you and being there to help you, nobody understands your day in a life better than other owners in your system. And so being able to utilize like build those relationships. And again, it can be such an impactful piece for owners because you're kind of on an island out there. Most of the people before you became a franchise owner, they got jobs. They're going to look at you like you got three heads. What are you doing owning a plumbing franchise? You don't know anything about plumbing. No, but I know how to hire and manage plumbers. I know how to get the customers. So now being able to talk to those other owners, all doing the same thing with the same problems, concerns, challenges, whatever, is incredibly beneficial for owners.
What about emotional decisions? I know that's a biggie because a lot of people go, oh, I have to make this decision. And they do it based off of emotions, not off of facts and talking to other professionals.
Yeah, probably don't do that. And then but we've all done it. And again, it kind of goes back to the plan and your system and your community. And so minuscule things we may do, but bigger things that are part of the overall system, you should be really trusting that franchise from that standpoint. And then I think it all goes back to why somebody wants to become a franchise owner to begin with, which is the control over decisions and trusting that you're going to make better ones than anyone that, when you've had a job or something. And if you make one that's bad, you're also in charge of then being able to kind of fix it and again, righting the ship. We're all going to make bad decisions somewhere along the way. You just have to want to be that person and then trust your system and your support along the way.
And I want to go back to exactly what you do with FranCoach, because there, like you said, there's 4,000 plus different franchises out there, but people don't really know how this particular franchise would fit in my life. But that's something that you do. Why was that so important to you? Had you made mistakes along the way and you just want to help others?
I've never once made a mistake, Kelly. I don't know where you got the impression that maybe I have. So,
maybe I talked to Danielle. No.
That's very popular, or Ryan over there, too. So it's no. I think from a background standpoint, I was originally like a teacher and a coach, so I think like that. And what we get to do at FranCoach is essentially educate people on franchise ownership, just to see if it's for them, because it's usually nothing what they really think. And then helping them understand that what's the best franchise for them to own is probably not remotely like anything that they've ever thought about. And that's a wild concept, but almost every single time that's how it happens. And so really, again, going back to being able to just kind of help and coach and guide people along the way to see if this is for them. And let's be honest, it's probably not. But if so, helping them be open to the possibility that the franchise they're going to own is something they've never even heard of or don't know anything about when we first talk. And that takes a lot of openness and commitment on people's behalf to just entertain that's possible.
Yeah. And we've got to plug your show, the Franchising 360 show. You can see it right here on BizTV. What can folks expect when they tune in?
A lot of crazy. And with Danielle Wright is with me, my better half personally and professionally. So, but again, it's the same thing. It's trying to give them insights into franchising and not just the franchise themselves, but some of the things that they need to be able to think about along the way. Again, we've even just had some great suppliers that have come on of like, you don't even think about like, oh my gosh, I got to find real estate for this new franchise. How do I do that? And there's whatever there is in franchising, there's always somebody or several somebodies there to help you along the way. And so we just try to make sure people are aware of just all of the support and things that really go into owning a franchise. And
you also have a podcast that folks can listen to and get even more insight about franchise ownership. Tim, we really appreciate your time. If folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
FranCoach.net is our website. There's never any fee to work with us and our team. So really, there's never any fee. So it's just if there's any curiosity, we always say, hey, reach out, schedule a quick call with our folks and learn a little bit more about that. This might be a pathway for you.
Tim, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Kelly.
See you next time. We'll be back with more BizTV right after this. Thanks for watching BizTV's Beyond the Brand. Be sure to subscribe to the BizTV YouTube channel, where you'll find full episodes of this show, fresh BizTV content, and a few surprises each week to help you stay inspired.